Sounds like a nice idea, but is it possible? For a more in-depth analysis on the ANC presidential race, we're joined in studio by Professor Kwandiwe Kondlo from the University of Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us, Prof. So, there is a grace period now, otherwise the deadline was Wednesday, tomorrow, for all the branch nominations to come in. It wasn't going to happen. The ANC says you can go through to the weekend, but we should have a pretty idea by now of who's in the lead, what the overall picture is looking like. Can we start with that?
Well, the overall picture at the moment, I wouldn't really say it's that clear. It's not that clear. And of course, I think it's about 60% of the branches that have done nominations. In some provinces, Cyril seems to be leading, but KZN, which has a lot of numbers, the last time I heard, they were still sitting at about 40% of branches that have actually done the nominations. The Eastern Cape, there are a lot of squabbles there, and Mpumalanga, the impression you get, it's like Nkosazana is actually treading ahead of Cyril, but at the moment it's quite really difficult to come up with a very clear, succinct picture of who's leading. And
the problem is so many conferences, nomination processes are disputed in the first place. Yes.
The branches, there are lots of internal wars in the various branches, serious internal wars, and unfortunately, the internal wars have really nothing to do about the vision and the future of the country. These really are based on what one could say possibilities of patrimonial benefits after the conference. And it's really taking time, in so much that it's possible that another extension might even need to be granted, because I don't see some of the branches resolving their issues as speedily as possible.
And it's not only a war of words, sometimes violent. The ANC has spoken out about that, and it seems to be on the up. Why? Why? Is this the problem of general factionalism that the ANC is talking about, that's filtering down all the way from the top, all the way to the bottom?
Yes, the ANC, for the first time, actually, in its history, I think is going to go into a national conference seriously limping. Seriously limping. I mean, the ANC has a history of squabbles. You can go as far back as the 1920s, during the time of Bransby and Mr. Ndobe, who sort of broke away from the ANC. The squabble started in the Western Cape those days. It has had but this particular phase seems to be quite deadly for the ANC, to be honest.
It's especially when there's a lot of public interest in this conference. The behavior of officials, I guess.
Absolutely. There is public interest in this conference, of course, also because of the blurring of lines between the party and the state. You see, because what happens in the ANC eventually, directly or indirectly, affects the quality of deployees that go into government. But if the ANC really, I would say they'll only be confident of the fact that they've resolved their matters during the 2019 elections, when the voters and the people of South Africa speak.
That will be the test. So Gwede Mantashe is saying, let's zone in on one province, KwaZulu-Natal. There needs to be a special dispensation. You were talking about that 40%. He said only 40% have done their nominations, but the province saying closer to 80%. So that really shows there's a lack of communication here between the mother body and that province.
Yes, there's a lot of contestation of figures in KwaZulu-Natal. You see, a lot of contestation, and also around the fact that you have a challenged provincial leadership, challenged in court, and they're appealing. Yet this provincial leadership, some of them are continuing to set up branches in the meantime, before the issue is resolved. You see. So the contestation is really quite deep in KZN, in so much that I'm interested to see how the situation is going to be eventually resolved after the court process, how do you actually bring unity in the ANC in KZN?
Is there not some semblance of unity in that province behind Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma?
Yes, in KZN, I still think Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is likely to lead. Yes. She's likely to lead, and she's likely to create a semblance of unity around the faction that she leads. But don't forget that I think Cyril has made serious inroads into the KZN support base for the ANC, in so much that I see the scenario which emerges eventually looking like a 75-25 scenario. Yes, but Cyril is going to make inroads into KZN, make no mistake.
So a 25% support base, for example, add that to his support base in other provinces, Limpopo, 70%.
Yes.
Is he looking like a very strong front runner if people vote in line with the wishes of their branch colleagues, which we know is not a given?
Yes, yes. He looks like quite a strong front runner for now. Let me underline that, you see.
But so much can change.
Yes, because once we get to that conference on the 16th to the 20th of December, look, we must expect a Trump-like victory happening when it comes to ANC presidency. What do I mean by a Trump-like victory? It's a victory which occurs, takes us by surprise. We don't believe it. We think there was rigging, but we can't prove it. And it is there.
So you're saying that will be the case whoever wins?
But I think it's between the two.
Yeah.
It's between the two. At the moment, if you look at the media coverage and if you look at analysts, there seems to be a strong emphasis that Cyril is going to win. But I'm saying we must expect a big disappointment, possible surprise. Yes.
The Eastern Cape, the ANC investigating the disputed conference there, is that the right way to deal with that dispute rather than nullifying the conference?
I'm not exactly sure how they're going to resolve the Eastern Cape matter. It's going to court, I think, tomorrow. And I really doubt, even if when the court process succeeds, the issues in the ANC in the Eastern Cape will quickly get to finality. I expect some kind of a protracted debate on the Eastern Cape because it is valuable to both front runners, Nkosazana and Cyril. Yeah.
Okay, so up for grabs. This is hectic. A lot of battles playing out in those general meetings, branch general meetings, also in the courts. Thank you very much. Professor Kwandiwe Kondlo saying the ANC will go into December limping.